You're sitting across from someone. Could be a first date, a work colleague, a party full of people who seem to know each other already. And for a second, just a second, the conversation feels like it's going well. You're nodding, they're nodding. There's a rhythm. And then silence. Not the comfortable kind. The kind where your brain suddenly goes completely, horrifyingly blank. Where every single interesting thing you've ever known, every story you've ever lived, every opinion you've ever had just evaporates. Like someone pulled a plug somewhere behind your eyes, so you say something safe, something small. Yeah, totally. Or you laugh a little too quickly, or you reach for your phone. And afterward, walking to your car or lying in bed at 2 a.m., you think of 17 things you could have said. Perfect things, funny things, real things. They come flooding back like they were never gone. Here's what's strange about that. You weren't actually out of things to say. You were never empty. So what was really happening in that moment? First, let's say something clearly. If this is familiar to you, if your mind has ever gone blank mid-conversation, if you've ever felt like everyone else somehow knows a secret language of easy small talk, if you've ever rehearsed a sentence 3 times before saying it, you are not broken. You are not bad at people. You are not missing something everyone else was born with. Your brain was doing something specific, something that actually makes a lot of sense once you understand it. And that's what this is about. The first thing to understand is that conversation is not just communication. For most people, especially those who feel the freeze, talking to someone else is also a constant act of self-monitoring. You're not just thinking about what to say, you're watching how they're receiving it, you're scanning their face, you're calculating whether you're being too much, too little, too weird, too boring. You're talking and simultaneously running a background program that asks over and over, am I okay right now? Are we okay right now? That's not weakness. That's a nervous system that learned, probably early, probably young, that social situations carry risk. Maybe you grew up in an environment where saying the wrong thing had consequences. Maybe you were embarrassed in front of others at a formative moment. Maybe you were just a sensitive child in a world that didn't always feel emotionally safe. The brain remembers. It files that lesson under protect, and it carries it forward. The blank mind isn't a malfunction. It's a fuse blowing to prevent overload. There's a second layer here that almost nobody talks about. The pressure to be interesting. Somewhere along the way, many of us absorb this quiet belief that what we say needs to be worth saying. That conversation is a kind of performance, and we are being evaluated in real time. So when a silence arrives, we don't just experience it as a pause. We experience it as a verdict. You had nothing. You came up empty. Everyone noticed. Think about the conversations you have with someone you completely trust. An old friend, a sibling, someone who has seen you at your worst and stayed. Do you run out of things to say with them? Probably not. You can sit in silence and it feels like rest, not failure. You can say something half-formed and they fill in the gaps. You can be boring and it doesn't mean anything. The words don't disappear with them. So the issue was never the words. What changes between those two conversations isn't vocabulary. It's safety. It's whether or not part of your brain believes that saying something imperfect will cost you something. But here's the part nobody tells you. The blank mind is not the enemy of good conversation. It's actually pointing directly at what good conversation requires. And that thing is presence, not performance. The people who seem effortlessly conversational, the ones who always have something to say, who make everyone feel at ease, who somehow move from topic to topic like they're following a river, they're not running a better script than you, they're doing something fundamentally different. They're not thinking about what to say next while you're still talking. They're actually listening, fully. And what they say next comes from that. When your brain goes blank, it's often because you split your attention. Half of you is in the conversation. Half of you is watching yourself from the outside, grading your performance. And that division is exhausting. It leaves fewer resources for the part of you that would naturally, organically know what to say. The blank mind is the result of running 2 programs at once on a device that works best with one. Here's where the identity piece comes in, because this isn't static. This shifts as you move through life. When you're a teenager, social missteps feel catastrophic because your identity is being formed in real time. What other people think of you directly shapes what you think of yourself. The stakes feel enormous because they are enormous. To your brain, in that moment, belonging is survival. In your 20s, the anxiety can intensify before it gets better, because now the world is asking you to perform adulthood in rooms full of strangers and the script keeps changing. But then something shifts, slowly, quietly, usually without you noticing until after the fact. You start to have a self that feels more settled, a sense of who you are that doesn't depend quite so heavily on external confirmation. And when that happens, when your identity feels less fragile, conversation gets easier. Not because you learned more facts, not because you got funnier, but because the background program running the constant risk assessment starts to quiet down. You find things to say because you stop needing every sentence to protect you. This is what the blank mind is really doing. It's regulating. It's acting as a kind of anchor in a moment that feels uncertain, pulling you inward so you don't say the wrong thing, don't take up too much space, don't risk the thing you're afraid to risk. Think of it like this. When a room feels unsafe, you don't redecorate it. You stand still near the door. The silence, the blank, the sudden forgetting. That's you standing near the door. Not because you're cowardly, but because some part of you is waiting to confirm that this is a place where it's okay to move. That mechanism is old and it is wise. It kept you from saying things that might have genuinely cost you, back when the cost felt too high. It learned to slow you down, to make you careful, to make you watch before you speak. It protected you. It just hasn't gotten the memo that the threat level has changed. And here's what's quietly true about all of this. You don't run out of things to say because you're boring or disconnected or fundamentally less social than other people. You run out of things to say because part of you is still taking care of you, still watching, still making sure it's safe before it lets you speak freely. That's not something to fix, that's something to understand. The most interesting people you'll ever meet, the ones who seem fully alive in conversation, who make you feel seen and heard and a little more awake, most of them will tell you that they spent years feeling exactly like this. That they rehearse sentences, that they lay awake cataloging what they should have said, that they still have moments where the words just go. The difference isn't that they stopped feeling it, the difference is that they stopped taking it as evidence of something being wrong with them. You have more to say than you know. You always have. The question has never been whether it's there. The question is just whether you feel safe enough to let it out. And that kind of safety, it builds slowly, quietly, and usually without asking permission. It's already building in you.